Hello. How are you doing? I am well. Thank you for asking. If you in fact asked or give a shit, which I very highly doubt that you do. Um, been kind of thinking about what it is that I want to make a video about because it's been a minute. And usually on the fly, I can just pull out my Motorola and poop something out at the very least, but my heart's not really been in it. Um, Last video I made was a grievance towards Facebook memes. That was about it. That was the last video that I've posted within a week. That was my own. Jason with the D's video I mirrored, but that's not mine. And yeah, you should check that video out. You should go to his page. You should show some support, make a donation if you can. Um, Heart goes out to him, his whole family. Uh, Ariel, Jason, and I don't know. I'm not familiar with any of the other names of the members of his family, but needless to say that my heart goes out to you all. This shit is not easy. So, but yeah, check his video out. In the meantime, the reason why I'm out here is because there are a couple people who took some interest on the essay and raised some excellent questions. I guess, and I guess maybe some clarification need to be made within this thing, which is excellent. Excellent, because, you know, if nothing else, I would like for an excuse to add on to certain things. Some of it, I might just copy and paste some of the comment responses that I made to them. Carmel 1119 and Richard Roy 2 commented on my life story video. I'm so happy. Well, not happy, but thank you for being able to tolerate the whole thing. If you made it through the whole thing, I assume that you did. Anybody who watched all that, I'm sorry and thank you. And in private message, I also thanked Carmel for actually having read my essay. Because I know what it is. You know, I know what it is. It's a philosophical essay, and if you've ever read philosophical essays before, they're of a certain nature, I guess. I said to her, and I've told friends, that reading that thing is not unlike eating a brick. I understand why people don't. It's just that the people who do, or at least pretend to, making comments about their definition of objective and leaving it at that, just kind of a touch and go comment, isn't. That's what my gripe is. It's not that nobody's reading it. It's just that the people who are seem like they're only pretending to, and that they don't really care. So at least there's three people who I've engaged in conversation with: Carmel, Richard Roy 2, and Zombie Picture Show. Shout out to all of y'all. The questions being raised in regards to that mostly have to do with the definition that I'm using for objective. A lot of people use the connotation of objective meaning, you know, absent or without independent mind or thought. Realistically, I look at the word objective as, you know, the object. And that's the thing, as a behavior to be studied. Morality exists objectively. It's something that all biological organisms do. You know, it's weeding out prolific behavior from detrimental behavior. That's what morality is. And so that I can say that it's objective. However, it's also determined and decided upon each individual subject, each individual participant thereof. And so it's subjectively deduced, subjectively valued. You know, I left a comment to Richard Roy that, you know, this notion of being outside the human concept or mind, it's not unlike, you know, it's not unlike describing breathing as objective, which it is. In order for us to survive, we need to breathe. We do. In order for us to continue to produce fuel for our bodies, we need to breathe. So it suffices to say that breathing is an objective behavior. I would argue that morality is an objective behavior in very much the same way, in that our survival, being that our survival is dependent upon one another, you know, unless we decide that we're going to be archaic, simple-minded monkeys just going around clubbing each other over the fucking head, you know, our survival, as we are, is dependent upon morality. Cooperation shit. So I told him that, you know, breathing is objective in very much the same way that morality is objective, but the notion that, you know, it's independent, the human mind, it's very much the same as saying that breathing is objective, but it's also independent of the human lung. That's retarded. It fucking is. I'm sorry, it is. You're talking about behaviors being dictated by our thought and mind. To say that behavior is independent of thought and mind is fucking retarded. So that definition of objective, the way that people use it, can eat a dick. Is for all I care. You know. So there's some clarification there. You know, depending on what you are using the word objective to mean, morality is objective. You know, but also it's also subjective because behavior is strictly subject to each individual participant. I, I think that a lot of this confusion comes up with people just really trying to relegate behavior into this realm of God, realm of something externally in charge of us all. And it just goes to note how convoluted things get when people start arguing for religion. You know, practicing religion, I'm all for. Observing religion, I'm all for. But when it comes down to having to choose between something that is proven, substantial, and demonstrable, and something that you simply want to believe, yeah, to sit there and fight for the things that you want to believe in the face of that which is demonstrable, it causes problems. So much so that we've come up with a cute little token phrase, cognitive dissonance. Yay, we've coined that. We've coined that because of this tendency to fight for things that we want other than the things that we know. You know, but whatever. And then the second thing is my definition of God. Ooh. Reality. Fitting the description of the three O's: omnipresent, omniscient, and omnipotent. You know, well, really, reality is powerful in and of itself. Everything that happens within reality happens because of reality. Reality is everywhere at once. And omniscience. People are getting a little hung up on that. Every amount of consciousness and knowledge that exists within reality. So it's within reality, all consciousness and all awareness exists. People seem to have this attachment to, I don't know why, I guess it's the feeling that there's something to be appealed to when it comes down to this persona and personality of God. Like, I think it's probably the same reason why people pray to fucking statues. You know, you just want to visualize one thing as being in charge of everything that you can appeal to and ask it questions. You know, pray and ask for favor to appeal to it. The word God is so fucking messy. I just soon not use it. Just because, but when it comes to the debate, you know, theism and atheism, I feel that I owe it to myself to define what it is that I don't believe in. You know, to say flat out I'm an atheist is to say, I know exactly what you mean, theist. I know exactly what you're talking about, and I don't believe in that. To say I am absent a belief in God, you know, it's almost to say I've been absent a proposition of God. Because you either believe or don't believe in any one given proposition. Any proposition, you know, Democrat, Republican, liberal, conservative, I don't know, people who like ice cream, people who don't, lactose intolerant. You know, like, there are people who label themselves, ascribe labels to themselves based off of propositions that have been made. To say that you lack a belief in God, it's to say that you've also lacked a proposition. You know, I don't know what you're talking about. That's effectively what a lack of belief would suggest. You know, I lack a belief in this God. Do you lack a belief in a bearded man in the clouds who created the earth 12,000 years ago? Or do you just believe that that's bullshit? Because since you're able to describe it to me, what it is that you lack a belief in, that very much states that you don't lack anything. You have a positive belief. It's just that that positive belief is in contrary to. Anyway, semantics, right? So I felt that I owe it to myself, being an honest person, to define what it is that I don't believe in. I do not believe in a man in the clouds. I don't believe in any of these little magical, supernatural propositions made in regards to God. But there's a thing when it comes to theism and atheism. You have a Christian and a Muslim, for instance, who get together and they argue against the atheist. And one says, well, I believe in Allah instead of Yahweh. And then the other says, I believe in Yahweh instead of Allah. And you can say, oh, yeah, okay, so you guys don't believe in each other's stuff either. And they'll get together and go, well, we both believe in a God. You know, I just call my God Allah, and he just calls his God Yahweh, but we both believe in a God. And it's like, okay, but you also believe in contrast to what the other defines as God. So you're at ends with each other, really, but there is this God thing that you want the atheist to believe in. All right, well, define that then. And then you got, the biblical, and then you've got the Quran, and it's just those two texts are not uh, mutually compatible. They're not. But when it comes down to theist versus atheist, somehow magically these two become compatible: God and not God. Okay, so let's go ahead and take this mutually compatible God term. What do you mean by that? And the three O's are all I can come up with. There is something that's omnipresent, omniscient, and omnipotent. Well, that sounds like the universe and reality to me, so fuck yeah, I believe in that. And what's even more interesting, that you notice after a minute that these holy texts and scriptures are written to describe and illustrate what it is they feel and want of reality. You know, that's just it. They are descriptions about the observable world in relation to a spiritual connotation. So yeah, these texts are used to describe reality in a roundabout and extraordinarily convoluted, one might suggest flawed way. But whatever, it inspires people and it touches people and it helps people move forward. So, whatever, all for it, yay. But the thing within my description that I see people getting held up on is that this omniscience, like people seem to get hung up on the notion that I am suggesting that there is something there to appeal to, like there's a personality behind all things. I don't think so. I don't know. It's kind of like if one of my if one of my skin cells were to be like, hey Kevin, can you grant wishes for me? That's kind of that's kind of how I look at it. But at the same time, we are all a part of this construct. We all socialize. We all cooperate. And sometimes we don't. We quarrel with each other. But at the same time, we are all on under one roof. We're on one fucking planet, and any amount of power that exists within reality. Any amount of consciousness exists within reality. I don't know. People seem to think that by omniscience, it would suggest that there's something to pray to, something to ask favor of. It the way that I describe it within the three O's, I can pray to my cigarette box. Oh, please, cigarette box, I want somebody to please lend me a quarter. Or I can just ask somebody for a quarter. Both of which are appealing to reality. It's just that one is a little bit more productive than the other. That's the thing. I'm not supposing anything metaphysical. I'm not supposing anything supernatural or magical. If I sit there and I pray, the only thing within reality that's going to hear me is myself, unless I pray in public forum, which demonstrably irritates other people. So praying in public irritates reality. That's so, like, when it comes down to like personal strength, I just feel better believing that there's something there backing me up. It gives me purpose. It gives me meaning to believe in a God. All right, fine. You believe that you've got a higher purpose and that there's a higher purpose being enacted through you, and that's the only reason you can manage to do what it is that you're doing. Good for you. That's really, that's really what it comes down to for me. As opposed to somebody doing the exact same thing for personal reasons that aren't spiritual, that aren't metaphysical. I just felt that this was the best thing to do, so I did it. I don't need a God to tell me. Okay, great, fucking awesome. You're accountable for your actions. That's sweet. But it really does seem that this God thing, this God construct, is problematic. Because I think it's kind of a straw man or an idol for people to move, transition personal accountability to. Oh, God told me to do this. It's not because I wanted to do it. You know what I mean? Like, you might want to Reevaluate why it is that you considered sacrificing your own child upon an altar. And you might want to investigate why it is that you changed your mind. There was some kind of external force that imposed its will upon you? Okay, sure. I personally would feel guilty, and that would probably stop me, but hey. As long as we're going off of the pretense of something external, I guess when you have to write down why it is that you felt guilty, you still got to blame the same thing that brought you to the altar to begin with, right? That's pretty much where it is, you know. Personal accountability. Imagine that. So to declare reality as being omniscient, I don't really see much of a problem with that. It's just that if you want reality to do anything for you, you've got to act within the restraints of reality. Just praying for shit's not going to get much done. You've actually got to do something. Like asking somebody for change, you know. You're appealing to reality one way, or you're appealing to reality another. It's just that one is a little bit more direct, a little bit more sincere than praying to a cigarette box for a quarter. You could just ask somebody who has a quarter for a quarter. And, you know, you get into fun semantics about that at that point. And that's really what it boils down to me. God is a semantic. God is a word that people use to describe what they feel is a higher purpose. I don't really particularly have a problem with that until that higher purpose is something along the lines of fucking fly. Anyway, until that something is along the lines of repressing rights, livelihood for other people, you know, other people's freedoms, causing misery and pain and suffering for other people. That's what you feel a purpose is? That's what you feel God's plan is? If you're at all a decent person, I would beg of you to reevaluate. Just me. And there's nothing within that essay that suggests an afterlife at all. So, if that's what God means to people, you know, the grand designer who has a plan and afterlife for other people, then I will say, oh no, I don't believe in that. It might be true, but I mean, we don't really know if there's an afterlife or not. Best we got is that there's not one. That's just it. You unplug a television set, that television set stops working. You kill a human being, that human being stops working. Does your TV set have a soul? No, probably not. Like I say, there's nothing supernatural about this. It's just semantics, which is, I know it's irritating for some people, but this word God, it's kind of a semantic itself. It's an embodiment of an objectification of will, intent, and design. So okay, well, if we're gonna go off that, reality has will. It's just not what you would think of a unified will. Sorry. Is there a plan? I don't know. Does reality have a plan? I don't think so. But here we are. There's still questions that need to be answered, that are left to be answered. I guess we can do whatever the fuck we want with this little existence of ours, but yeah, people are so hung up on this word God. I really don't get it. I really don't. I think that, you know, God can be a word used to unify people, unite people, in a way that's it's rare. You know, you very seldom see people gather together and cooperate in a magnitude that religious people cooperate and come together. So I guess this word God has its purpose, it facilitates something, but you can also cooperate and unify without it. That's pretty demonstrable too. You got enough people who simply believe in charity and goodwill and good works, and sometimes people who really see ill, you know, who really want ill, to hurt people, to damage people, and they unify too. Without this God construct, God concept. It's just that God, this God word makes it so much easier. for people. I just don't get it. I don't. It seems that the people who subscribe to this word really just don't want to figure the rest out for themselves. They just want somebody or something somewhere to tell them that it's all going to be okay and it all makes sense and they're a part of the winning team. And that's all they need. So whatever. Use this word God. What does that word God mean? I don't know. God is unknowable. Okay then. How can you demand that it exists then if it's unknowable? Well, it just is. You know, again, dissonance. But whatever. Cigarette's almost done. That means the video's almost done. Yay. But yeah, I guess for the people who read the essay, thanks. And yeah, I might have to add onto it to accommodate certain clarifications that people were asking for. But past that, it is what it is. Yay. Yeah, about 2 more puffs and I'm done. Anyway, you guys have a good night, day, whatever.